All right, well, moving on to another stopgap mixtape between albums, Ashes to Ashes. We're back to some great photoshopping here, as Rick Ross is in a very uncomfortable looking chair. I never understood why rich people love these fucking chairs with like the upholstery that doesn't actually have any give to it. And I guess because they look expensive. You know what I'm talking about. It's like,
Yeah, I've seen a lot of chairs in the houses of older people, and this is an incredible Photoshop.
there's a lot of
Yeah,
cigars on it. Is he supposed to be putting the cigars out on the $100 bills?
I think that is the
Going
idea. Yeah.
on?
Also, why sunglasses indoors? Those don't even look like good sunglasses.
I guess if it's good enough for Bono, it's good enough for Rouse. Um,
I guess.
well, apparently Bono has some sort of fucking medical condition. I don't know. Um, no Rick Ross songs on the 60 songs that saved Bono's life, unfortunately.
No, I don't think Bono was bumping Ashes to Ashes or
Bono was
any.
not a 9 piece. Uh,
Bono's not bumping DJ Khaled interludes.
I don't think Bono knew rap existed until his lawyers told him that Kendrick Lamar wanted to use a sample of theirs, and then
Well, wasn't well that was actually um didn't they do like vocals for that? Like it wasn't just a sample.
I'm pretty sure it was. No, I'm pretty sure I read it was a sample off one of their more recent albums.
Uh,
Maybe they redid it or something, but I think it was from like a recent U2 song. I don't
okay.
think it was like an original feature. It was like one of those deals. Like they set the precedent on like Watch the Throne. I was it Watch the Throne where it was like, yeah, Otis, where it's
Yeah.
like that length of a sample, it becomes a feature credit. Because
Right.
yeah, Otis had the feature credit and the Joy had the feature credits, and then yeah, so I think that was just like a extended U2. I might be wrong though, but
No, I mean I have no knowledge of
I
it,
don't
so
care either. I mean, that's a good song. It's the best U2 related thing I can think of, but I also don't care enough to look it up. Anyway, Rick Ross, Ashes to Ashes. He's smoking tons of cigars on the cover. This is a relevant album. It's a relevant transition album for him because he's getting into the MMG era, which means you get 2 tracks with Wale and Meek here. Um, which at first I thought was like when this actually came out, like I didn't. It was before the label launch, so I'm like, that's weird that he's doing all these tracks with Wale, and especially with Meek because Meek was still like a local. I thought of him as a local Philly guy, although I guess he'd signed to Ti's label previously, but that didn't really work out. He was signed to Grand Hustle, but this was obviously the label deal that did work out for him. And those 2 tracks do stand out on here for sure. Although Currency has the best verse over the Pandemonium beat. Um, Retro Super Future is cool. It's although it's basically Ross doing a Wiz Khalifa song in the same way that when he does songs with Drake, they're more Drake songs than Ross songs.
right.
It has the funny image. Ross raps about skateboarding, which is funny
Which,
if you want to
which was
picture Rick
big
Ross skateboarding.
big around that time because of like Wayne and Wiz and
I
that
think this
sort of.
was pre-Wayne skateboarding period, actually. I might be wrong. Again, I might be wrong on that. I know Wiz had a skater following though, so that might have been like Ross kind of trying to skate into that lane. Black Man's Dream is interesting too because it's him and Ludacris doing like a conscious track, which is not what you would expect with Ross and Ludacris on a song together. Um, yeah, and then like the rest, like so, yeah, there's that stuff which is like stylistic expansions from stuff he was not necessarily the same things he was doing on Teflon Don. Even Deeper is probably the deep. Like I said, all of these mixtapes, there's like one track. Like there's Mafia Music 2. There was Knife Fight. This one has Even Deeper, which I guess speaking to the whole credit the sample as a feature thing has Barry White on it, which is the exact same beat from Ghostface's Maxine, if you remember that, off of
Mhm.
Bulletproof Wallets. And it's really it kind of is Ross in the Devil in a New Dress lane. He's rapping that sort of way. Has that very, which I guess is kind of just him how he raps over like that sort of 70s electric guitar feel like that Mike Dean went for in Devil in a New Dress. I get the same feeling out of the Barry White sample and Even Deeper. And then you have a few trap tracks that are essentially lesser copies of the Luger stuff on Teflon Don. Although 9 Piece did kind of blow up. I always thought John Doe was pretty stupid. But and then there's a Drake track which I don't really remember, which is probably the most popular thing on here, which is weird that I don't remember it.
I'm trying to think about it right now. I don't really remember it. Yeah, I don't. I've definitely heard it, but I don't remember it, which is weird.
Oh shit! And it
Because
ends. I don't. Speaking of things I don't remember, I knew it ended with the Bugatti Boys, which was him and Diddy. Which I guess that was another Like he was supposed to do a full album collab with Drake called YOLO, which
yeah,
and then he was supposed to do, I guess, a full album collab with Diddy, Bugatti Boys, but that they have a track on the end here, which is probably my favorite track they've done together. And then I guess there's a second track on the end of that, which is Gunplay and Waka Flocka over a Luger beat, which I really want to hear now because I don't remember that at all, and that sounds like the most coked up thing ever.
yeah, and it's it's definitely. Well, I was just saying because I saw the chart, I was like, oh, 8 minutes and 38 seconds, but then it's like two songs. So that's
Yeah.
pretty. That's a pretty unique way to end your album. I think a Rick Ross and Diddy collab album would have been a lot of fun around that time. I don't know what got in the way of it, but
Yeah, I mean, because Ross is very prolific. Like he was pretty much establishing an album a year clip at this point, and well, Diddy not so much. He doesn't write raps; he writes checks. So he probably had like 10 different things going on at this time, and couldn't be bothered to get into the studio to record an album's worth of shit, even if somebody else wrote it for him. But yeah, overall, I think this is actually probably, as far as Ross mixtapes and stopgap releases go, probably the best of them. Like, there's the Kevin Costner track sucks, the Neo track sucks, John Doe is dumb. But other than that, I like looking at the track list. Everything else is good. Most of them are exclusives, and it. This is back when Walleye was still fun to listen to, so his features are good, and it shows the direction where he was. It's like he is good about these stopgap releases and that they point the direction in which he's going
mhm.
and they hype up the next release. Like he is very good at keeping the machine moving, I would say. Speaking of which, are we going to talk about the self-mades? God, there's so much Rick Ross. Like we're going to have to kind of blow through some of these, but
Yeah,
I
that's
guess
why I was kind of
self-made.
like the self. I mean, I don't. I'm trying to remember like things about that like collab.
He has
um,
95 features, by the way.
yeah.
Wow.
Um, I mean,
Self-Made One has, I mean, we can just like what we remember from them now because I'm not going to go through the whole albums. Like, I remember Self-Made 3 is terrible except for the Stally song. Self-Made 2 begins with him asking if Michael Jackson was alive, would he smoke one with him, which is like the funniest album intro ever. Uh, and that 8 minute, and it's like, then it's a 7 minute song that has Kendrick on it, which is just goofy as fuck. The first one has a really good Currency feature on it, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it has, and I remember the title track being really hard. Um,
And I think that also had a lot of Meek's original like singles that blew up, like "I'm a Boss" and "House Party," I think, or "House Party Remix." I think
yep.
that those were on there too, so that's kind of relevant if you're a Meek fan. Really, you don't need to hear like any of them in full, but if you must hear one of them in full, the first one's the best. Uh, there's a Nas feature on the second one, probably. I'm sure that's good, but because he's never bad on the raw stuff. But yeah, there's really nothing much to recommend. They're label samplers, and Ross's label got worse over time, so the label samplers got worse over time. Speaking of things that got worse over time, Rick Ross albums.
Yeah.
God Forgives I Don't.
Well, I was gonna say, do we touch on Rich Forever because it came
Was
out
that
before.
before? I
Rich
thought Rich
Rich
Forever
Forever
was
was
before. We should
before.
talk about Rich Forever, yeah.
Rich Forever is better than God Forgives I Don't.
They're about even for me. Because the best tracks on Rich Forever are on the God Forgives I Don't deluxe edition, and they're better on that.
uh,
The Triple Beam Dreams has like a improved beat on it, and so does Rich Forever, the title track.
mhm.
So they're the best songs on either album, I guess, and you can hear them on God Forgives, and God Forgives also has I don't know. God Forgives is funny. Rich Forever is just long.
Interesting. I mean, I like Rich Forever. Like
A lot
I
of
think,
I don't have a popular opinion on this one, honestly. Like people, I think the Diddy track is fun. Um, this was back before I had an appreciation for Future, so I'm really shitty to him in my review. But I probably would like the Future track now. Stay Schemin's a classic,
yeah.
obviously.
Is that the only time Common's been involved in a beef?
No, dude. Fucking Common had a very famous beef with Ice Cube, the bitch in you.
Oh yeah, okay, well yeah. I have not been keeping up with Common over the years.
I mean,
Well,
that was back when Common had like a lot more credibility and was like genuinely underground. So, but that was also one of the big East. Well, not East. It was like not. I guess not a coastal beef because Common Chicago, but
it was a weird. But I just remember like the Common Drake thing being so pointless. I mean, you made a great joke about in the episode about Common. I'm gonna call him Canada Dry, which is
no, that was the line that Common used on Drake.
yeah.
I didn't joke.
No, I know, but I just mean that it reminded me of that, like just being an actual thing that Common would say.
Oh yeah, that is like the ultimate like got him triple entendre. Don't even ask me how.
Right,
Like
like I'm making dad jokes, like ugh.
yeah. Well, the thing about it is the best line on that is the Kobe reference. Like none of the fucking beef references are the best part about that song from Drake. It's the "You wasn't with me shoot. Where was you when I was shooting at the gym?"
Yeah,
It's the best part of that song.
which became a little like an early meme in the early meme days of the internet. That was a big because Rick Ross comes in. You want with me shooting at the gym? It's which could sound really corny, but I always thought it was so tough the way Rick Ross came in right after Drake. Bitch, you want with me shooting at the gym?
I think it's hilarious.
I
It's like
think it's
song.
super.
The style song is cool and it's different from BMF. It's not really yelly. There are a bunch of yelly trap songs on here too. I don't know. I think if you took the best 40 minutes of this, it would be in the mid to higher end of the Ross studio albums. But at 80 minutes, I've never listened to this in full more than once. I thought it was very exhausting. Um, I don't think the MMG group cuts on this do anyone any favors really. Like,
No, I mean like, the thing that I like about the album though is it like um there are tracks that there are a lot of really good. I don't think there's like a lot of bad songs. Also, that's the thing. It's like outside of like a skit and like a Kelly Rowland song, I don't need to listen to. I remember listening to this a while ago, so my opinion might not be current, but I remember liking this, and that's why I gave it a positive rating. So I'm going through and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember the Future song. Nodima compared him to Max B, which is funny. Um, I mean, Triple Beam Dreams obviously is amazing. The
yeah,
Diddy songs were good. I like the MMG Untouchable ones. I like the Chain song. Obviously, Stay Schemin's great. Um, there weren't songs that I listened to and I was like, these are bad. So it does have a lot of songs. I will give you that. It's like what 20 tracks, 19 tracks.
it,
But it's a
19
pretty
tracks, and then the end is an interview.
yeah okay. So yeah, I mean, it sounds very. I will say it sounds very of its time. I will say that it definitely does sound like a 2011 mixtape.
I mean,
But
as far as what it was intended as to promote an album as a stopgap release, again, it does its part well, but I have no need for this much of this mid, pretty much. When the best two things on here by far are available on in better versions on the next album. But I will say that it is for a mixtape. It's super professional. It's all original beats. They all sound like studio quality. It might as well be a studio album. It's just needs edited pretty much.
right, yeah, that's
More charitable to it. Sorry to steamroll you, but
oh, you're good.
um, I would probably more charitable to it today than I was in my review because I like certain things more. Like I definitely like the Future track for sure because I wasn't into him when I wrote the review. And but yeah, Triple Beam Dreams definitely my favorite Ross Nas collab. I think what works about that song so well is the juxtaposition between Nas's street stories where he talks about being a shitty drug dealer and like how he couldn't get his weight off and everything, and like the Ross character. Like you have like this credible like Nas like almost street journalist approach, which calls back to how he was on Illmatic, And then the contrast of that with Ross's like opulent, like gangster who is like never shows his flaws in public. And this beat, which is just Justice League in their absolute finest zone. Both of them are. And it's so cinematic. Both those tracks are extremely cinematic, which I think is when Ross is pretty much at his best, is when because he's such an outsized character, and you get the impression that if he's not about that life, a lot of what he's gotten is cribbing from movies and pop culture. So his best music is the sort of stuff that paints these cinematic pictures in the listener's mind. And those two tracks do that as well as anything in his catalog. And the Diddy stuff is just dumb fun, which does imply that, yeah, if they did do the Bugatti Boys album, it would have been a lot of fun. Diddy actually sounds like, you can tell when Diddy's really invested in something is when he's just like acting dumb as fuck on a track and having fun. Like, you can tell when he's not invested when he just does the bars like the person who wrote them for him would do them, which is how like Dr. Dre has done his verses since 2001.
Yeah, seriously, it's Dr. Dre syndrome. No, I think, and I get it's a segue into.
Oh, by the way, mixtape art review. This is I just noticed he's supposed to be on the face on a dollar bill, smoking a blunt.
Yes.
Okay. Rick Ross's unbroken streak of classic mixtape covers continues.
A real Thomas Jefferson vibe going on from this mixtape.
He OD'd on the filters on this one.
Oh yeah. Oh god, yeah. I wonder how long it took to make. I wonder, like, who did he enlist to make it?
I'd like to think that graphic design is Rick Ross's secret passion and that he makes these covers himself.
Seriously, Rick Ross is the embodiment of the graphic design is my passion meme.
And now we move on to our weekly excuse to shit on the song Diced Pineapples. God forgives I don't.
Oh, this is the most fascinating album in the Rick Ross discography, I think. Because I think it could have...
Like, it's a shame that we don't have more time to talk, because I could talk about this album for another 2 hours. This album is so silly.
Is this like the most 2012 album of 2012? I don't know how to explain it. Like, oh god, there are so many songs on here that are just like, I was listening to it the other day and I'm like, oh my god, this is like 2012 all over again. Like, even in like how it's just sequenced. First of all, Three Kings, underwhelming.
Three Kings it's an event song that it thinks it's an event and it's not. It's a very flat event song. In my review, I said it thinks it's heat, but it's actually Righteous Kill. And I think that's a pretty good comparison, because it's like legendary personalities coming together, but they feel washed up on the track together. Like, everyone feels like they got washed by everybody else, but nobody feels like they killed it.
Yeah.
Except for, like, Jay has the best verse, I guess, but I can never decide whether I like it or not. I can never decide whether I think he's being lazy or clever. And Dre is just terrible. Like, fuck Dre on this song. You should listen to this beat through my headphone. No, fuck you. Fuck your headphones. Like, go fucking fund Burning Man some more. Go get your daughter into a college by building them another wing. Like, all the dumb shit. I've been shitting on Dre a lot lately. I think I've realized that I don't like Dr. Dre anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, yeah, we've covered that at length lately, and verses like this are why. I find he does not come across like he earns the legend spot that he is given on this song. He doesn't deserve to go first. He doesn't deserve the bars that are written for him. It's just annoying. The bigger event songs on here, I think, are Maybach 4 and 16.
Yeah.
Maybach 4 is probably the weakest Maybach up to this point, but it's still good. It's just got some questionable bars on it. And it's, I think, the first Maybach where Ross is really outshined by the instrumental. Like, I feel that there are large parts of this that feel like a Justice League solo, whereas that you kind of got that out of, like, the outro to Maybach 2. But there are parts, like, this is, like, the intro and the outro, and there's a bridge, and there's the Neo singing part. So, like, the Ross raps are kind of lost in it. And then the only thing you remember is, like, he said that thing about, what did he say about Jerry Sandusky? Anything dates this album, it's the Jerry Sandusky reference.
Seriously, that is
also,
very...
Also, the Somalian pirates thing happened. Is that why he's comparing himself to a pirate?
The Somalian pirates thing, I believe, was around this time. Because you had that Tom Hanks movie that came out about it a little after, right?
Yeah, Captain Phillips. Which
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I think that might be it. Rick Ross is very. This is very 2012. 16 is amazing. Even with the random guitar at the end. Thank you, Andre.
what
I guess.
what is a bigger struggle guitar part from a great rapper? Andre on 16 or Wayne on Shoot Me Down?
Probably Wayne. I mean, close, but probably Wayne. I
Well, the
mean,
thing is, Andre definitely tries to be doing like a more Jimi Hendrix. Like clearly, this was when he was like auditioning for the Hendrix thing, and that's why like you got Andre on a song. It's like, oh no, he brought his guitar. Fuck. But whereas with Wayne on Shoot Me Down, it feels like early 2000s Linkin Park sort of thing almost, like the way he plays the guitar. Although weirdly it works for me on Shoot Me Down because that song is so melodramatic.
yeah, I think it has more of a. I think
But it's
both songs.
definitely like a struggle, like first day learning a Guitar Center guitar solo that he plays on that song.
Oh, absolutely. They're both struggling here. I don't know what Andre was thinking. Um, but hey, the song's amazing. His verse is amazing.
His verse is incredible. He has the best verse on the album by far.
16 really wasn't enough, you know.
Now, there's two ways it can go when you have that legend status where you're afforded where 16 ain't enough. Is you can get like you can be Black Thought or Andre on this song and like just go so far you rap this long. People still wish you were rapping even when like you've gone that long. They're sad when you stop. Or you have the Eminem thing or Royce on his new album where it's just like you really, really wish they'd managed that 16 was enough. That they managed to keep it to fucking 16 bars. And
please, 16's enough.
this is a weirdly sequenced out. I mean, like it's not so weirdly sequenced, but it's like you have the event songs in the first six, then you have the trap. Well, the first six, then you have a yacht rap song, then you have the two trap songs in the exact same place that MC Hammer and BMF were on the last album, which feels lazy.
It feels like
literally repeating the formula. And these are way sillier and louder than MC Hammer, which is funny because it's way sillier than a trap song naming itself after MC Hammer. But Hold Me Back is just like everything about it is hilarious.
Hold Me Back is honestly, it's one of those where I enjoy it so much because it's just how many times has that chorus just been like, you know, shit on or memed about in association with Rick Ross. Like that is just
shout out to Kanye on To the World for calling back to this. Mitt Romney don't pay no tag. Mitt Romney don't pay no tag.
Mitt Romney don't pay no tax. And you know, hey.
This is also the song where Rick Ross raps about his fridge looking scarce, which you can tell is probably the worst thing Rick Ross can imagine.
Yeah, I actually
the way he pronounced scarce is fucking hysterical.
I cannot imagine Rick Ross without a fully stocked refrigerator. It's like those bars that were like around like the Wingstop time too, right? Or just before that?
A little prior to Wingstop, because once he started the Wingstop shit, he was rapping about it pretty consistently. Like he was like, and there are no Wingstop bars on this album. Like he was very good about cross branding.
That has always been a thing that he's good at.
What's weird? Another weird thing about this album is it's insanely musically ambitious. Like it's hard to believe this is the dude that made those first couple albums because there are tracks like obviously 16 is it's close to 10 minutes long. The trap songs have these really distorted, like abrasive outros. Like I can't say what he says on the outro to Hold Me Back that he repeats about 1,000 times, but he definitely does a lot with his vocals on there. 9/11 goes like twice the length of your usual Luger trap boilerplate. Say what you will about Diced Pineapples. I think we've covered it once or twice, but it's ambitious for a Drake fucking R&B song / Wale poetry slam. Like it's certainly a different approach. Like
I like the beat.
Yeah.
Like I like the beat on it. Yeah, serious. I like the beat. I like Drake on it. It's not I don't think it's like his strongest hook or anything, but it's solid. And I think, but Ross's raps are, they're
Bro.
they're too gross, and then you get the Wale shit, which is even more gross. So it's kind of at two odds with itself.
And then you have the ending, which is also, it's very much, I'm trying to think of what to compare it to. I mean, you can't say, you can certainly not say that he didn't give Stally every chance to make a huge impression, and I'm not sure if he did. Like, he puts him in like the spot to deliver like the biggest verse ever on this song,
Yeah.
and I don't remember that much about the verse. I remember I like his hook a lot, but I don't know. Stally never really fit in with the group. I feel like he was given some chances, but then I also don't know about like how his albums were promoted. And I also don't know if he's really that promotable of an artist, like overall, because he is weird. Like, and I feel like Ross was like, all right, we need a weird guy. Like, he was trying to cover all. Like, he had a street guy with Meek. He had like a sensitive slash, like he was assembling a boy band. He had like a sensitive slash conscious guy, quote unquote, heavy quotation marks around both with Wale. He got Omari in to sing his hooks. And it's like, well, we need a weird eccentric guy, and so we got Stally.
Right.
Like also like for like regional flavor too, because Ross was also really good about like covering all the regions. Like Philly was a big region, the DMV was a big region. There's a reason he picked Wale and Meek, and Stally was like the Midwest. So, but I just don't think that he had, because clearly Wale and Meek, their deals worked out really well. They're still working with Ross. Stally was definitely out to sea.
Right, and I agree that he wasn't as promotable like as the other two. I mean, Wale kind of like fit naturally. Meek clearly fit naturally. He and Ross could be like kindred spirits on a track. So, and Stally was kind of just like out there. You could hear it just in the fact that his music never really gained any traction. And I don't remember his verse on this song, but I remember the hook. I agree. I remember the hook. I remember liking the song, but I don't remember anything from Stally on it. And then I just remember the bonus tracks that came after. So I don't remember him, and I don't remember a lot of his original music too. I remember it being solid, but I don't.
He had a really great tape called Intelligent Trunk Music that I haven't listened to in a
Yeah.
very. Lincoln Wayne, Intelligent Trunk Music. Intelligent Trunk Music is a really dumb subtitle, and I wish he hadn't gone with that.
Mm-hmm.
But because if it's really intelligent, you shouldn't need to tell people that. I generally find the people that need to refer to how smart they are not as smart as they think they are. And I think that goes for music and especially conscious rappers.
Yeah.
Like, with some rare exceptions. I actually think Lupe is mostly as smart as he thinks he is, although sometimes that can be really fucking annoying, so it cuts both ways. Anyway, with Stally, yeah, Lincoln Way Nights is a great album that I should probably revisit because I have it in a 9, and he had a really fresh style because it was like a lot of different influences, and his flow is an acquired taste because it's like very weird, sometimes offbeat, sometimes poetry like, sometimes trap like. It's eclectic. And after that, though, his MMG projects are not great. One of the things I will say about him is he had really, really consistently good production from Block Beaters, who did a lot of stuff with G-Side. If you're familiar with G-Side, they're a really good Southern group. And I forget which region, though. And who else did his? I want to say Rashad was the other guy who did his beat. And Hammers and Vogues is a great Stally song. Like, he's made a lot of good music. I just don't know how marketable it was outside of a very specific niche. Oh, also, any track he's done with Currency has been really good, too. So, anyway, this album is very strange for a major label rap album. If I recall, it got pushed back several times. It had its title changed several times, which we ended up with this hilarious fucking title. Funniest title in Rick Ross's catalog. Except for the Black Bar Mitzvah mixtape, which we won't cover except to say that he had a mixtape called The Black Bar Mitzvah, and he's in fucking rabbi. Like, the cover is like Rick Ross's head superimposed on a Jewish star.
One of the best mixtape covers I've ever seen.
Yes. There's no music worth hearing on that mixtape, but the cover is fantastic. So yeah, this is worth hearing, but it's a lot, and I mean, there are jams here, but I can't say you'll really be spinning the whole thing front to back very often. It's an exhausting listen. The bonus tracks are probably the best things on here. Fuck Dr. Dre.
Yeah, great way to close it. I agree with you.
Now on to Mastermind, which is, I'm pretty sure, the album where he tries to be every famous rapper of the past 30 years.
Yeah, this is another fascinating album for me because it's got some real heat and it also has some real trash.
Yeah, looking at it, I was really like, this is actually one of my more popular reviews, not to toot my own horn, 5 people liked it or whatever, because I shit all over this album when it came out. There's a lot you can clown on this album, but there are no doubt 2 absolute classics on this album, which are the J track and the Kanye track. Like, the past proves true again with Ross working with both Throne guys. Devil is a Lie, not quite as good as Freemason. It's a little more on the nose, and it doesn't have that. Like, the beat is harder, it's trappier, the drums hit harder. Like, I prefer the spacier vibe of Freemason, with those John Legend vocals on the back end of it and stuff. But Devil is a Lie is still a good beat, and the J verse is great. It's, again, covering a lot of the same ground as Freemason does, but Jay's more aggressive this time out. The hook is kind of hilarious too. Like, bitch, I'm alive. Like, Ross is very melodramatic on it. Ross is melodramatic on this whole album, even by his standards. And Sanctified is an all-time great Kanye moment. That verse is, every single line is a fucking quotable. Also, you should go on YouTube and find the live performance they did on the Arsenio Hall revival, which people probably forgot happened. Arsenio Hall had a revival for like 8 episodes, and he had rap guests, and one of them was Kanye, Big Sean, and Rick Ross. And Kanye runs out and does his verse, and the crowd just goes ape fucking shit. It's a huge moment. The song is great, even aside from Kanye's verse, like the gospel beat.
Yeah.
And Big Sean finds his calling in life is pretty much just to be a hype man, because he's really good at it on that song. And Ross's verse is good, but Kanye's verse is what makes it legendary, I think, because it's both memeable and memorable. And the Too Aggressive line is the most Kanye line of all time. Like, that replaces Can't Tell Me Nothing as the most like, that should be his epitaph. Thug Cry would be great if it wasn't the 9-3 till infinity beat. There are certain parts of this album that are, I hate to use the word objectively great, like, we don't like that word, but objectively good that I can't enjoy because they're just fucking stealing from older rap songs. Like, nobody till somebody kills you, except they grafted fucking French Montana onto it. You can tell it's that because Diddy's there. Fucking Thug Cry is 9-3 till infinity. What a Shame is Shame on a Nigerian. And again, French Montana's around. Like, what was with, like, the whole fascination with, like, let's take good old classic rap songs and stick French Montana at his laziest on them?
This is not even like Cokeway French Montana. This is like Excuse My French era French Montana.
Right. I mean, I maintain that French Montana has an absolute place and an absolute use, but that's when Max B is around and Harry Fraud is around. You can't just throw French Montana on, like, your half-ass cover of an ODB song and, like, yeah, it is a shame. It's a shame this fucking song exists. The skits are terrible. The album is very long. The features always outshine Ross. Like, you forget about Ross on a lot of these songs, even though he is varying his flow. There's none of the Luger trap stuff on here, I don't believe. There's a 1-2 punch of, like, a dance hall, like Miami dance hall-y reggaeton track, and a Jeezy song. That is, if the Maybach 3, Live Fast, Die Young is the best back-to-back on a Rick Ross album, this is the worst, with the possible exception of any lady song, which we're just going to disqualify on the fact they're lady songs. Like, this is like 20 minutes of music that feels like it goes for 40. Fucking endless. And it thinks it's hype, but it's just exhausted and exhausting.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, the Jeezy song is way too long, but I remember liking Jeezy's verse on it, or at least some of it. I really like how I think Nodima in his review, which I'm skimming over now, said it perfectly, which is like tracks 1 to 6 and like 14 to 19 are like so good, and he's right. Like, and those are I love. Those are songs that I really like. Even though Thug Cry is the 93 to Infinity beat, but I thought Rick Ross sounds good on it. The fucking Drug Dealer's Dream is a track I always loved. Obviously, you said
Drug Dealer's
Devils.
Dream is good. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Um,
Rich is Gangsta. I like those. I mean, that's like classic Rick Ross. But no, the stuff, and then from Sanctified down, including the bonus tracks, is Rick Ross had a habit of putting great bonus tracks that were better than tracks in the middle of his albums. But anyway,
I had never heard the bonus track version of this, but we'll get like a more recent one has the same thing happen with the bonus tracks. So
yeah, and I think like it's just a really disjointed, weird album because, like you said, he's trying to be every rapper and he's trying to do a bunch of different lanes, and it's like Rick, your best music is when you pick a lane or one or two, not five. So it's not a bad album though. I like I said, I really like the songs that I like on here. So I probably would say like half the album I enjoy, but the other half like
way more than I do. But I can admit when it's good, it's good. I think the big problem with this is that he finally started to find what worked for his personality, or at least what I found appealing about his personality, and that's lost on this album. Like, because he's trying to do too many impressions of other people. Like, he takes it too far. Like, his personality, like I said, is borrowing from other people. This goes from borrowing and homage to outright theft. And he lost the editor's touch that he had with Teflon Don, because this is it feels longer than Rich Forever, even though Rich Forever is longer. I think you could probably fish a good EP out of this.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely think that you can get like, I would take 9 tracks off this. It's my
I'd probably take
including the bonus tracks. Is what I mean. I would take 9 tracks, including the bonus tracks.
I would take Rich's Gangsta, Drug Dealer's Dream, Devil Is a Lie, Sanctified, and I guess I'll give you Thug Cry, because I actually really like Wayne's verse on that.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ross sounds fine on it. It's just, again, it annoys me and that I should be more annoyed with Justice League than anybody. But I feel like Ross actively asked him to just like do that beat, but do it just different enough that I don't get sued, because that's what it is. The Weeknd song sounds like a Weeknd song. It's, again, Ross has the guy on, and I guess that's a problem Ross has always had. Like, I mean, going back to what I said about him and Drake, is that he sometimes will just go to the level of a feature and loses his own identity when he has certain features on his songs. And I feel like that's the story of this album, is his loses his identity.
Yeah. That was interesting in that, like, he like the Weeknd especially is such a distinct voice that like it's easy for when a Weeknd's on a feature to sound like a Weeknd song. So Rick Ross probably like, oh well, just do your thing, and then it just was a Weeknd song, and it wasn't even like a hot Weeknd song. And I'm just like, oh well.
Well, we're gonna move through the next few kind of quick, because unfortunately the clock is ticking on the episode. Mm-hmm. You can thank my job, which I won't name just in case this ever gets popular. I don't want to get in trouble, but fuck my job for changing my schedule. This was supposed to be my day off. Supposed to have more time for this. And anyway, we're going to blow through the next one anyway, because I haven't heard it like in full ever. I don't believe I have. It was in passing. Hood Billionaire, which came out the same year as Mastermind, and kind of feels like all the trap songs that wouldn't have fit on Mastermind ended up on this album. I was really mean to it in my review. It's probably better than I think it is. I think the Coke Like the 80s is a really good song, and Moving Bass with Jay is typical good Jay Ross songs, although it's probably the least of their collaborations. I also think it's because it's only a Jay hook, if I recall.
Yeah, it feels like a thrown together album, and maybe a thrown together song, honestly. I don't know.
Originally Tink was on it, and she got taken off. And she would have had the best verse on the album. Nobody remembers Tink. It was like Timbaland's, like, a weed carrier, whatever, side jaw, whatever. And she had a really good verse on that would have had more personality than anything else on the album. Oh yeah, Elvis Presley Boulevard's really good too. That with Project Pat,
which is a collab that should have happened a while ago. But that's a good song. I don't remember any of the really questionable R. Kelly.
Ooh, that's real.
Yeah. The back half of this, I remember. I mean, I gave it 2 stars, so I was probably pretty like whatever on it. I remember the Crit song having a good Crit verse. I don't really know. I don't remember much else about the back half, which is probably like pretty mediocre, I imagine. It just feels unnecessary. The album. It could have been. It could have been an EP.
We already got our, shout out to reviewer I will not name. We already got our quota of street drugs and sex from Rick Ross in the year, so we didn't need another serving. I don't think. You might as well have just made a mixtape with the best stuff off this and gone over a few popular beats or something. There seemed like, unless there was like a contractual reason, I don't see why this album needs to exist.
100%. I don't understand either. So that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
The next two we can cover together because it's another one of his mixtape album pairings, but they go like really close together. Is Black Dollar and Black Market.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard the mixtape too?
I've heard the mixtape too. I remember both of them being like okay. I remember the mixtape had probably a few more hot songs. It was also too long. But I remember the mixtape at the top had. I'm gonna go to the page now, but I remember it having a lot of hot tracks at the start.
Yeah, the first couple. Looking at my own review on here, looks like the first 4 are really hot. And there are some scattered ones throughout. Again, it's 70 minutes. Get it down to 40, and you have a really good. I don't know why he was able to edit on one album and then lost that ability immediately afterwards. Well, he was kind of editing on Teflon Don, and then he not Teflon Don, Deeper Than Rap, completely lost his ability to edit until Port of Miami 2 after Teflon Don.
I just want to say that the song "Take Advantage," according to you, is thankfully not a date rape anthem. But it's just a really bad title.
It is, yes. Especially considering that this dropped not too long after Ross put a drink, Molly in some poor lady's drink, and she didn't even know it. And that led to him losing his sneaker deal. He probably should have thought twice about that song title. Wale sings on one of these tracks. Just fair warning. You have a Wale song hook and a Kevin Cossum hook. No one needed that shit. I noticed that the last album had a guy named Slab, and then on this album there's a guy named Whole Slab. I wonder if they're related. Maybe that's dad. Maybe he grew. He used to be a little slab. Now he's a whole slab. We have a lady song called She Wanna Fuck, which is refreshingly direct. 2 Kevin Cossum songs.
Yeah. Remember, because Kevin Cossum around this time, he was doing features on the Pusha T album. He was really...
Yeah, that's like the worst Pusha T song. Like,
yeah. Kevin Cossum really tried to blow up. Or someone tried for him to blow up.
One of the things about this mixtape that didn't really follow through on the album is that there are some genuinely, like, conscious tracks on here, or conscious bars at least, where he's talking about, like, black wealth and poverty and... kind of the same stuff that Jeezy started talking about in the first sentences of bars on the recession, mainly where he'd yell, "We're in a recession," and then he'd just talk about how that means he has to deal coke more now because we're in a recession. And he actually makes some interesting points, and because I would say that Ross is actually a much more credible figure talking about this stuff than he is telling his coke stories, because he's actually a really successful businessman. Like, he has opened restaurants. He's sustained a career far longer than anybody could have possibly anticipated when he came out as like a one-hit wonder gangster rapper. Like, he's clearly a smart guy who's made good investments. He's launched, I'd say he's probably a better A&R than Jay or Kanye in terms of artists he's launched. Like, he's kept Wale somehow relevant to some more than he deserves. Meek has been Meek is probably, I'd say, equally or more known than him in the mainstream now.
Yeah, absolutely. Meek
possibly due to the fact that Meek is somehow gifted with like the Midas dick and just manages to fuck a lot more women that are famous that are more famous than him. But still, whatever it takes. But yeah, I'd say I got a good half of this is interesting, and a good half of this can be skipped. And some of the most interesting stuff again ends up as bonus tracks on the next album, Foreclosures and Money Dance. Money Dance, by the way, is one of those Dream extended songs that you thought they stopped making at the turn of the decade, but I guess he still makes. Dream actually put out a triple album recently, so he's definitely. I have not had the time to listen to 3 hours of Dream music, but it's really fucking good. Money Dance is like a top 10 Ross song that no one talks about because it's not like a hot single. It's like 8 minutes long, but it's really ambitious. It's shockingly like it goes through multiple parts. It's really complex. It's not the type of beat you normally hear Ross over. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Shut It Down on
Thank Me Later, right?
Later, but it's not gross sex raps, thank God. And it's just Dream has come so much farther in his production skills since then.
Right.
So I highly recommend that, but you can hear that on the next album. So you really don't need to seek this out unless you're a completist or you want to hear Ross have some more varied lyrical content, which is about half of this. Half of this is,
it's certainly
very lyrical content on She Wanna Fuck. I'll say that much.
It's certainly not bad. But I don't think this or the album are necessary.
Right. And speaking of the album, since it Black Market, if I recall correctly, this has some of the most gross Rick Ross sex jams ever. Peace Sign, which had a DJ Mustard beat, which he proceeds to waist on the hook, got her legs looking like a peace sign or up in the air like a peace sign. This is the hook.
Yeah.
Then he follows that up with a Mary J. Blige slow jam, which is almost never a good idea on a rap album. Like, I feel like you never say, like, I don't know if people go to Mary because she's a legend or if she asked to be on these albums, but it's like 99% of the time it doesn't work. Like, the one track she did on Life is Good is really great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think though. Like, she had everybody talks about how bad her feature on the Good Kid, Mad City deluxe edition is, and it is. It sucks.
Yep.
She just like kills the momentum, man. Just like she is a legend, but she doesn't have anything really. Her songs are just boring as shit, like padding for the back end of rap albums at this point. Then we have a Chris Brown feature that goes 6 minutes long.
Right.
Sorry indeed. Fuck you.
And the only tracks on here are the premiere track, and the Nas track.
Oh, I think did I like Silk Road? Silk Road? No, I didn't like Silk Road. Silk Road. I'm thinking of the Lupe song. Yeah, like there's a lot of like the thing is the mixtape made you think, and the title makes you think, okay, Ross is going at least kind of conscious. He's saying some interesting shit on the mixtape. Then the album comes out, and 90% of it's about his dick.
Yeah.
No one needed that shit. Ghostwriter's interesting. I don't know how much of it I believe. I believe more of it than when I wrote my review, where I'm like, yeah, I don't believe it at all. I don't know. I have not read his book. I don't know if his book actually came out. I think it did. But I don't know if he gives any receipts on that, on who he's possibly written for. But given how much his writing's improved, especially around Port of Miami, too, I believe that he'd written some stuff and that he was maybe performing either that he wasn't at the level to rap as well as he could write, or that he was dumbing down his raps for his character.
I would believe it, but I haven't read the book. I know it. I think it came out, so I don't remember anything about like the writing or ghostwriting or what have you. That whole thing around Rick Ross.
Oh yeah, and there's a sex jam with Mariah Carey on here, which no one ever needed a Rick Ross Mariah Carey duet.
I think I wake up in the morning and I say, you know what I need today? A Rick Ross and Mariah Carey duet.
Well, better than me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Seriously.
Response to what you just said, and also the next Rick Ross album.
Yes. Which this is my one mildly hot take, because I think this album's underrated, and I like this album. And I think it's like if Port of Miami 2 is the Teflon Don 2, this is the Deeper Than Rap 2.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, that's because it really, I think it opens pretty strong. The Sadiq song is like not too memorable, but it's a good song. Santorini Grease, I fucking love that song.
Santorini Grease is a classic.
Yeah. Idols
I
Become Rivals
Rivals is
track.
cool. Again, I feel like that's Ross covering some new ground. Like that's one thing is that Ross gets a lot of slack for he puts out the same album over and over and over. I don't think that's necessarily true, and that there is he repeats a lot of the same tropes, a lot of the same structure, but he does cover new ground each time out. Sometime, there's always one or two tracks where he'll address something new or try and expand lyrically. This is one of them. He touches on some real issues here. Shits on Birdman, as one does whenever they work with Birdman. Eventually, they have something to say about it. The Nas song is typically good, although I feel like they've kind of gotten into they peaked with Triple Beam Dreams. Their stuff after that just kind of feels like they're rehashing the same old mafioso sort of vibe, but they're good at it. I could listen to them do that. If they did a collab album together, it'd probably be good. Although Nas tends to not have a great batting average with collab albums. Give him the Damien album, the Firm,
and the
album. Lamborghini Doors felt to me like Maybach understudy, I guess.
Yeah, I think the run from Game Based on Sympathy, Scientology, Lamborghini Doors, those are all like in the same lane where they're very nice. They're good songs. Like I really enjoy all the beats on that one. Also, Game Based on Sympathy is so funny because Rick Ross is talking about like welfare cheese at the beginning. And you're like, oh, this is gonna be like a conscious song with Rick Ross, but then one of his I mean, it's like scattered, but like one of the lines in the verses is like, I stick my dick in her, tell her my net worth, or something like that.
Well,
Something like that.
I really do think that Rick Ross has a medical condition where money gives him erections, because he's rapped about this in the past about money making him come, money making him ejaculate. He has a line on back when Anthony Fantano was still amusing. He had the review of Mastermind where he talked about Rick Ross had the line rapping about Skyping to just show people his money, which makes me think that Rick has like cyber sex where he just shows like he Skypes and like $100 bills.
I mean that I mean, hey,
So yeah,
man,
he has a medical condition where, or at least the character Rick Ross has a medical condition where he is sexually attracted to paper money.
I think, yeah, I think all of the, I mean, "She on My Dick" is a song on this album. I think all of the like the yacht rap stuff on this, in a similar vein to like Deeper Than Rap, is really good. I think that Trap 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 would have been good if it wasn't for Wale. Young Thug murders that verse, and I wish Wale.
And Wale is fucking horrible on that.
So
Wale has been one of the things about I complimented Ross as an A&R earlier and how he's done with Wale and Meek's careers. One thing he never realized, and I don't know if it's him or Wale or both of them, Wale is not he should not be on the tough fucking street tracks, and it's been this way since 600 Bends. Like when he's like doing the posturing shit, it's even more false and annoying than when he's doing the relationship shit. It's just tiresome, and no one buys it. And especially when you look at like he's following Thug, and then after him you have Future, Jeezy, Yo Gotti, and Gucci. Like who doesn't fit in this lineup?
Yeah.
Maybach 5 is the worst Maybach. It's a Dead Loaf solo song. I have no use for it.
It's a weird song. I kind of like it, but I understand why you don't like it. But I still like the beat. I don't find Dej Loaf very interesting in her own music, which is really no fault of her own. I just never got into her music like that. But I do like her on that song, and it's a little long. It's a little long, but I like the song. I don't remember the closer with Yo Gotti, but I remember in counting up the songs that I liked, I remember I like everything except the "She on My Dick," the one with Ty, which is rare because Ty's great, but it just feels obligatory. The closer, and then I guess like Triple Platinum. But I like the rest, even if Trap 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 has an annoying ass Wale feature, which we've covered. So I still like this album. I think it's a little underrated. I think Rick Ross made a cool late career album that foreshadowed what would come.
You talked me into liking it a little more than I initially did, in that it's important that I don't think you get Port of Miami 2 without this album. But I still don't think I'm going to reach for this very much.
Yeah.
I think that if you took the good tracks off Black Dollar, Black Market, and this, you'd have a good album. Like if you combine the three projects into one. But I don't think any one of the I think out of the three, the mixtape is the one that comes closest to being a fully realized project. Now, just for the interest of time, I mean, I also don't think we have much else to say about that one. We're going to move on to the most recent Ross project, and I think we both agree is his best, Port of Miami 2, which is also apparently his last, he's saying now, but, we don't believe rappers when they say that. I mean, Rick Ross does not have a unvarnished record of telling the truth about shit. So.
No. I think it's still my second favorite behind Teflon Don, but I do think it's really fucking good, and I probably need to. I mean, I listened to about half of it last night just as a refresher, but it's. I mean, it was really hitting when I listened to it last night, so it definitely still holds up.
I will say that it's probably a little below Teflon Don just because it's not as well edited, and I could do without Booger on the hoodie. I really don't like that fucking guy. And otherwise, you have a great Ross Denzel collab. And so he's kind of a sour note on it. And the chick on Turnpike Ike, the chick almost ruins Turnpike Ike for me because it's such a smooth song with such smooth raps, but the quote unquote hook, where it's just like Ross like asking I guess it's the Maybach Music chick. I guess that's who we're supposed to think it is, the one who does the drop.
Right.
About like, will you die for me? Like, how much you love me? Like, shut up. It's weird.
It's a weird song.
It's a weird choice, but the rest of the song is great. It's like the super relaxed yacht rap, jazzy, just super opulent. Act a Fool is one of the best trap songs he's done in a while. Wale, shockingly good on it, I would say. I enjoyed the verse.
He got good Wale.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's nothing great, but I think maybe Wale has lowered the bar so much that it comes up with an average verse on this song that is, like, great by his standards. Dej Loaf, I enjoy her a lot more on White Lines than I did on Maybach 5. Mm-hmm. I think White Lines is great because it's by far the poppiest thing on here, and it's like super about just doing all the coke. Like, does he think this is going to get on the radio?
I don't know what he was. I don't know if he meant that one to be a hit, but it definitely wasn't going to be.
So it's like by far the pop, like it's the most radio ready song. It just happens to be about like sniffing coke, and smoking weed, but mostly about coke. Big Time I think is hilarious because there was a comment in the RY in the box for the single about how one dude couldn't help but hear Rick Ross saying MGTOW when he says Big Time. So I hear that whenever I hear the song is Rick Ross rapping about being a MGTOW. Swiss Beats is annoying as fuck on it, but it doesn't ruin the song. It's still Rick Ross over a towering Just Blaze beat. Nipsey is amazing on his.
Oh my god, yeah.
Calls out 6ix9ine,
yes,
which is topical. Fuck that new 6ix9ine song. If you think he's doing anything different or new on it, you're fooling yourself. If you like that kind of trash, fine. If you like eating trash, just say you like eating trash. If you like just eating, like taking a paper plate and going to the dumpster and taking a nice big scoop of trash and chowing down on it, that's fine. Just admit it. Don't pretend it's not trash.
We are going full Mike Seatown here with the if you like this shit, it's okay. It's just shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine if you want to just have a dog turd sandwich. If you like the smell of dog turds on your breath, then just admit it to yourself. Don't pretend like, oh well, 6ix9ine's rapping hard. No, he's not. It's the exact same shit. He's made the same song like 1,000 times.
The beat sounds like something he would have done in like early 2018. It's the same thing.
So fuck 6ix9ine.
Yeah.
Nipsey was incredibly right on this verse. It's sad that this is probably the last notable verse of his that was recorded. Who knows if there's going to be like a posthumous project from him, but it's one of my favorite Nipsey features. The Jeezy feature almost makes up for War Ready. All the features are great. For some reason, Wayne's listed on the RY. on the RYM track list for Maybach 6.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the best. I still really, really wish that he managed to get Pusha and Wayne on the same track with Pusha dissing Wayne. That would have been so fucking funny. And now I can't find the Pusha verse, and it drives me nuts. So if anyone's listening to this and you have the audio of the Pusha T Maybach 6 verse, send it to me. Because it does exist, and it was up on SoundCloud for like a half second. And he's dissing Birdman and Wayne on it, on a track where he's supposed to be right next to Wayne. And Wayne's just rapping about fucking some chick. I mean, it sounds fine, but it's like not the most substantial verse on a Maybach song. It's upper tier Maybach. It's not as good as 2. It's not as good as 3. I'd say it's about the same level as 4. It's way better than 5.
Yeah. It's probably the third best Maybach, but it sounds great. It sounds and the last, I mean, those last like the whole album, but those last like 3 or 4.
The top 5, maybe top 3 Rick Ross song.
Incredible, fucking incredible.
Mind blowing. Best lyrics I've heard. Like the way he comes into that, it's like listen to Kanye interview and feel like I want to cry. I forgot what the line is. It's like something. Now we wearing MAGA hats.
Yeah,
like,
he's
so much passion fucking in that verse, and the way it just builds and builds, and then we can meet up out in Vegas on the hook.
Yeah.
Like it feels like the culmination of everything he's done with Justice League led to that song. And it feels like he's actually in like a suite in Vegas, just looking out through a glass window onto the strip, just reminiscing. It has that same kind of feeling as like Pusha T's Alone in Vegas, speaking of Pusha, a little bit. But like that same ruminative gangsta feeling to it. Speaking of really introspective, great lyricism, the 1-2 of Fascinated and I Still Pray, I don't think he's ever been more introspective than he has been, where he actually reflects back on like nearly losing his life, and it feels so much more sincere. Like he makes reference to like his seizure on God Forgives I Don't and the shooting on Mastermind, but those felt like calculated character sketches. This feels like he's actually opening up. So if he's acting, he's a better actor than ever, or he's being more honest than ever. Either way, it's made for better music.
Oh, 100%. He was really open on this album and like introspective or vulnerable. I mean, you nailed the Vegas residency shit with the looking out and reminiscing. That is such like a nostalgic sounding beat. And one of my favorite things in rap, as you know, because we've done this podcast for years now, is conversation. Like it feels like you're just having a conversation with the rapper or the artist. Like that is one of my favorite things in rap. And if I feel like I'm in a room with Rick Ross and he's just like talking and I'm like a fly on the wall and I get to, listen to like, how he's really thinking. And watching the Kanye interview, I feel like I want to cry for every innocent brother charged with a homicide, like went from battle raps, now he wearing MAGA hats. I mean, that's more than, that's all I need for that song. Because that's an incredible way to kick it off. And like you said, the hook feels like he's just sitting out on the strip and just watching. Like that's amazing song. I can't get enough of that track.
Nobody's Favorite feels like straight up graveyard music to me. It's like dark. It's like fucking bleak. Gunplay sounds a little like T.I. on it to me, actually.
Gunplay was good on it. He'll just turn up and be in put in a good feature like randomly.
I think there's a great variety on this too. Like you don't have the lady song stretch. You don't have like similar sounding songs back to back with each other, but it doesn't feel like a grab bag. It doesn't feel like it's a shuffle album or an algorithm album. It feels assembled to give you variety while still having cohesion. And again, like you said, the last 3 tracks, that's like perfect. Like if he wants to end his career, I can see why he would say he would end his career on this album. Because Gold Roses feels like your closing credits music.
It really does. Like that beat, you could put me on that beat and it would sound good.
Well, the first time I heard it, I was really late at night. I was really tired. I thought it was lethargic. I was just like, it reminds me of turn of the decade Drake hooks and everything. It's like, it's good, but it feels like they've done this sort of thing before. They did it with Free Spirit. They did it. But then the more I listened to it, it just grew on me. Every time I heard it, it grew on me. Drake's verse grew on me. Drake's hook especially grew on me. The outro, the way the outro expands, it's so languid. It's just, it feels like there's such space to it. And really, the way the last 3 tracks feed into each other instrumentally, the lyrical themes that he touches upon on each of them, it's really the last third of the album entirely from Fascinated onward. Like, it's just really well put together. I mean, Teflon Don is a better constructed album in terms of being edited well and using its features, I guess, to the peak of their capabilities. Although I'd say for the most part, the features are used to the peak of their capabilities here. It's just that you can only get so much out of like a Swiss Beats or a Boogie with a Hoodie. Like
Right.
those were just unnecessary choices.
The only tracks I would take off are the Swizz track and the one with Summer Walker. But the rest of it,
I like the Summer Walker track enough. I mean, her part is that's negligible to me, but the actual verses are fun. Like I like the vibe of that song.
I probably need to listen to it again. I don't dislike Summer Walker or anything. I just remember being like, when I heard the album the first couple times. But I probably need to listen to that part again because I've been picking and choosing what to listen to, like with this album. But I will give that song another shot.
I'd actually listen to it in full a lot at work when I just put on an album. Like I've been reaching for this more than I thought I would. Just because, yeah, I listened to it when it came out, and I was like, I really like this, and I didn't listen to it for a little while, and then I started coming back to Vegas residency, and then that just led to me giving it like more full album listens when I'd be at work, and I wouldn't have time to like I wouldn't want to put on shuffle, and I wouldn't have time to just seek out. I just have to put on something and let it play. This would be one of the albums I would reach for. So,
Right.
And yeah, I would say start like ultimately, just for the interest of time, I guess we're gonna wrap this up. Where do we think Rick Ross is actually done? Like, do we think? Probably not. Like, fuck no. And do we think he has? Is this going to be like, provided he's not done? Is this like his career trajectory? Is going to be more albums like this, or did he just peak again and he's going to put out some more like mid shit for the next 10 years?
I mean, I don't know. I think he can make a song, and this is not a knock on him at all. Like, I think it's actually a good thing. I think he can make a song like Gold Roses in his sleep. I think Rick Ross has that capability. He, obviously he has the they'd be like, hey Drake, like let's get a song together because their collabs are always good. He has the capability to make songs like Vegas Residency and the Maybach music stuff. I think he can make. I would love him to just do like a whole like 8 to 10 song album or mixtape in the yacht rap lane. Like you don't even need the track. I mean, I enjoy his bangers too, but like I just love that lane so much because I love those ridiculously opulent instrumentals. And I think if he is going to keep putting out music, I would love for him to put out music that sounds like the second half, like from the Nipsey song onward, like that, those kind of instrumentals, like he just sounds perfect over them. And he has for 10 years now. So it'd be cool if we just.
People have been wishing for what you've been saying since Deeper Than Rap, but especially Teflon Don. Yeah, I kind of hope. I used to think I'd be indifferent if Rick Ross. I never really thought about Rick Ross retiring one way or another, and if he did, I figured I'd be indifferent. But after this, I'd be kind of sad because, like, if he's still able to produce this level of music at this point in his career, it'd be sad if this is where he quit. But I also understand, like I said, if by some weird slim chance this is actually a retirement, this is one of the better ways, like, rap retirements I can think of. Like, it feels like he put so much thought into this. It feels like the culmination of a career. Like,
yeah, I think if you listen to Vegas Residency and Gold Roses, like it really gives you that that whole arc. Because like you said, and I didn't think of this until the other day, but like it does sound like a early 2010s Drake hook, like that kind of callback, and the way the languid outro comes in, like it really feels like closing credits to a movie.
And that's what I've said pretty consistently throughout the episode is throughout Rick Ross's career, the best Rick Ross moments and tracks and albums are the ones that feel cinematic. And I said that Teflon Don is when the franchise really hit its groove. This feels like the franchise going out on top. And I kind of don't think that we need to Disney Plus this and come out with a bunch of spin-offs. Like we saw what the spin-offs were like. They were like the self-made albums.
Mm-hmm.
Like the product gets diluted. So, yeah, I mean, if you haven't heard this album, absolutely hear this album. Even if you don't think you're a Rick Ross fan, I think you would be surprised by the final third of it, if nothing else. Because it's not the same Rick Ross that you were making fun of in 2009 for being a CO and not knowing how to rap. This man absolutely knows how to rap, knows how to write, knows what production he sounds good over. And yeah, Teflon Don, underrated, potential classic, inconsistent career, but relevant career and plenty of quality music.
Yeah, and I think you summed it up perfectly. I if he goes out, this is a great way to go out.
And hopefully Kittenpuke can overdub some Rick Ross ad libs, because we somehow didn't talk about his ad lib game, which is possibly the most endearing thing about him. But maybe throw some ad libs in at the end. And if you haven't heard the Charlie album, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with you. You're not allowed to listen to this podcast anymore if you haven't heard the Charlie album. So, on that note, we are living off borrowed time, and we will see you next week.